we're glad to have you here for this podcast, Mission GJ. This time we have our Apostle Erickson Salazar with us.
That's great. That's great. We're here flowing in the prophetic for the house.
That is exactly right. That is right. Coming to you from home and for the home, which is the sacred place where we all come together to be truly nourished by the Holy Word. And for this occasion of experience in the mission, as we always do, we have invited a dedicated leader to share her personal experience of how the Heavenly Father has favored her, and how the Father has abundantly blessed her in her faithful obedience as she takes on the great mission. Please join us as we give a very warm welcome to our special guest and leader, Madeline Rosario. How are you, Leader Madeline? How you doing today?
Hello, thank you so much. I feel very privileged and honored to have been given this wonderful opportunity today.
That's absolutely wonderful, Madeline. We're the ones who feel incredibly privileged. We feel truly honored that you accepted our invitation once again to the mission to take it on and share your different experiences throughout this journey you've lived, which has been a significant number of years in which you have taken on the mission with obedience. So, without further ado, Madeline, tell us what experience you're here to share with us today. Tell us.
Well, the personal journey and unique experience I am here to share with all of you today is one that centers entirely around my own life, and it is through this that I have gained a much more profound and comprehensive understanding of things, specifically through the apostolic ministry and its teachings. And it is through the prophetic word that I realize I cannot simply trust in myself, and that I cannot solely rely on the fact that if I am taking on all these responsibilities, if I am carefully following the guidelines, if I am strictly sticking to my daily schedule, and if I am consistently doing my part, that is exactly the moment when I need to make absolutely sure that I am staying completely subject. And I need to make sure I follow the line and not trust in myself. Now, why exactly do I say this? Because it is incredibly easy to stray from the prerequisites. It is far too easy to fall into a state of rebellion and into disobedience because a lot of times we get too comfortable. And if you give your soul too much confidence, well, the soul starts to put itself on the throne. And then you lose that self control over yourself. And you always have to give control to the Holy Spirit because if you let your soul do whatever it wants, well, you literally mess yourself up. The demands come, the counter demands come, and then you say, oh, but what happened? So, what exactly went wrong? I thought I was doing just fine. Everything seemed to be going smoothly. And that is exactly why it happened. Because so often in life, we simply stop doing what we are supposed to be doing. We slip up, we act out in a moment of rebellion, and that is why we can never allow ourselves to get too comfortable. We just cannot trust ourselves completely. I am considered a trusted inmate, as they so often say here in this ministry. And that is the very reason why I know I can never let my guard down. Each and every single day, I have to remain fully disciplined and constantly seek out guidance, direction, and seek the divine leading of the Spirit. That's my experience.
Wow.
Oh, wow, wow.
But Madeline, yes, yes, I think so too. Yes. Yeah, yeah. Nothing's happening here.
With this one, you really pulled it off. Madeline had to come and tell you this. But anyway, we're one body. That's why every prophet just throws it out there and moves on. And you know how it is. But I think you should give an offering to Sister Madeline
Yes, yes, I think so too. Yes.
because I think she did you a big favor.
Oh my goodness.
Well, it's amazing to hear this, and it's great, like the introduction always says, that this is from the house and for the house. From the house and for the house. And we enjoy hearing how each leader, who are prophets, have a different dynamic within the principles and foundations they handle. because it's not the same to handle liturgy, impressionism, showiness as it is to handle foundations. So, to understand his ministry dynamic, it's always about those from the house who handle foundations, who understand the language clearly and plainly, as they say out there. So, the topic, I'm struggling with the topic because there's so much to talk about with this subject. But let's quickly get back to what I was already explaining. Let's not trust ourselves. Let's not trust ourselves. That's the topic. We really should not trust ourselves. So, this is highly counterproductive and detrimental to the human philosophy of entrepreneurship or progress or broader topics such as positivism or motivation. Because we've always been taught you can do it. We've been taught, hey, get up. And there's a lot of stimulation on the soul level because human beings need motivation. And within the human context, that's correct. But the one I was talking about did exactly that. She learned to be positive. She learned to better herself, to be very entrepreneurial. She learned all of that, those human mechanisms, which I repeat are like painkillers. They have a certain effectiveness, but only temporary effectiveness. And since we don't work with fleeting things, but with what is eternal, the person speaking today is already talking in a different context because she decided not to live under human strength, under the soul's power within that soulful eroticism, and instead to go to the part that is powerful, which is the spiritual part. That's right. Wow, that's incredible. Yes. See? Where does that deep rooted distrust she shows, that unwillingness to trust, come from? And it's interesting when she mentions one of the most common sayings around here, we are trusted inmates. And that has a context. Why are we trusted inmates? And there are a lot of reasons for that. The first is that we have a fallen nature. And sometimes it's like a human being who doesn't have knowledge ignores that. Those of us who do have knowledge don't ignore it. We are people who come from a fallen nature. And from that nature comes a tendency toward lust that always tries to pull you toward the flesh. It always tends to pull you toward what's human, toward everything that's strayed from the purpose. Isn't that interesting? That's inside you. And within that, something called iniquity takes root, which is the inherent nature of sin that's always looking for you to fall back into those destructive patterns that the enemy has already intrinsically connected you to. Whether it's through your bloodline, meaning your ancestral family lineage, through your environment, which is where you used to be, where you are right now, or the places where you choose to connect, or through your own personal choices, which are the specific decisions and choices you have made yourself outside of God's divine purpose and holy order. Look at how incredible that is. So she's saying, I can't trust that marked person, where now, through knowledge, she knows she has to break down those marks in herself. And she knows she's trustworthy because she knows where she used to stumble within her bloodline. But she also knows where she used to stumble in terms of her environment. She knows what is associated with the environment. She knows what manifests at the bloodline level, but she knows even more about the messes she personally got herself into. So when someone speaks with that kind of authority, they're telling you that they have knowledge. And look how interesting it is that what she's reflecting is that my experience is knowing how to connect to the apostolic and prophetic. Wow, how interesting. What an introduction. It's something that feels like a movie, that introduction. This movie is going to be good because when someone starts off saying that their experience is following the apostolic and prophetic line, she's speaking 100% based on the foundations of Christ. Because the only one who came to establish the apostolic and prophetic was Jesus Christ. That's right. So much so that Christ spent 30 years in a process and only 3 actually carrying out the ministry officially. And in those 3 years, that's when he structured the apostolic and prophetic to leave the model design for how the church, how the children, how lives, and they will be able to have a place, a point of contact, so they can allow themselves to be formed, established, so they can allow themselves to be led, guided, set free, and then sent out. And based on that, she says that her experience is connected to this, to her following the apostolic and prophetic guidelines, which is the structure that Christ designed so that the children are no longer stumbling around and so that the children are no longer relying on themselves. Because the word says that if you go it alone, you're not going anywhere. You're going to destroy yourself. Because even the word encourages us to fight as a body. We are so trapped by trust that even though Christ died for us and paid the price, he still sent the comforter because we still need someone to guide us like a nanny every day. So the sister sounds very fatalistic with all her description. And you say, why so fatalistic? From a human perspective, from human reasoning, this fatalism is jarring. I can't trust myself. I'm a trusted inmate. My God, who is this girl? What happened? But have faith, like a religious person would say, have faith. Yeah, she says she had faith, but she talked about the kind of faith that's grounded, the one Christ spoke about, the one where he says, you call me Lord, Lord, but you don't do what I say. So she's doing what he said. And that's faith. Faith is doing what he says. It's so powerful that the word says faith comes from hearing. Hearing what? Hearing the word. That's why the ministry, what does it do? The whole flow of the house is prophetic. Therefore, everything that's seasoned here comes with a biblical foundation. And the faith of this house comes through the prophetic connections that flow from the house through studies, teachings, devotionals, through prophetic content. Here, there is a synergy of prophetic flow because we need to keep each member exercised, since, as the sister says, everyone is a trusted inmate. See how interesting that is, Lewis? Lida had to come and teach you this, that you are a trusted inmate. So I feel like I'm with a live audience right now. I want to tell you to say to the person next to you there, tell them you are a trusted inmate. You are a trusted inmate. And as trusted inmates, we can't let our guard down. We can't let our guard down.
That's right.
We always have to depend totally on the word. The word, I repeat, is what flows from the house. Because many say, no, just take the Bible and open it wherever you want. My dear, those who take the Bible and open it wherever they feel like it are the ones who have no home, no father, no teacher, no prophet, no guide. Anyone who reads the word independently is simply looking to become independent because they want to make themselves a teacher without anyone having sent them. I think that was a low blow, Lewis. This part messed me up. That could be taken out of context and people won't understand it. But honestly, let them do whatever they want. In the end, everything we do is as a body. I don't go around alone for anyone. I move as part of the body and everything because that's how Christ did it. Thank you. He established it, showed it, and modeled it. Christ was only ever alone in his life at the moment when he was going to the cross. That was his only moment of solitude when he had to take it on, when he had to be crushed and mistreated for us. But the whole time, he taught us that we would have a father, that we would have a spirit to guide us, that we would have a word, and above all, that we would have a body. And that with that body, we would overcome Hades.
That's right.
See how interesting that is? Wow, now you understand what Leader said, but she just threw that out there. And anyone would say, my God, how fatalistic. But yes, yes. Well, let Dad come and explain it now so you understand that she didn't go down because she was depressed or lonely. Quite the opposite. She's saying, now I'm coming down with everything I've got. Now, I'm not out here doing the devil's little dance, all by myself. And how great it is to reach that level of authority and maturity. You know why, Lewis?
Why?
This is because the world is constantly going to be provoking you. Satan is going to use every single thing in all of creation to entertain you and to provoke you. He will always be tempting you. But there's something a little interesting about this. This line between what is the world and Satan is that Satan creates a need in you when he sees that you're paying attention to the wrong things of the world, to things that are not prophetic. At that point, the devil already has you in his grip. That's why you have to connect, because if you're not connected, you're connected to something else. Look, it's mandatory to connect, because if you don't connect to the prophetic, then you're connecting to the part of creation. And creation is what motivates your soul. What the prophetic does is feed your spirit. So when the enemy notices that you are no longer actively focusing on your spirit and that you are not properly nourishing your spirit, then he starts strategically making his moves against you. So that entertainment, which is the distraction from what belongs to you, he comes to create needs for you. And in that need he creates for you, then he comes with the offer. That's where supply and demand come in. When that little demand he creates for you comes, he brings you the offer. So everyone who is unfocused because they're not connected to the prophetic ends up being a puppet of the devil, kept distracted, having needs created for him, and then Satan comes and offers to fulfill those needs in an illegal way, just to keep you completely subjugated and steal everything that belongs to you.
Wow.
Roof, low blow, Lois. Sorry, low blow. That's what happens when we don't understand our true nature. That's what happens when you get complacent. Anyone who isn't connected is getting complacent. Anyone who isn't connected, no matter what rank you have, if you're not connected, you're getting complacent. Because Christ established the ministry so that you would know the source from which the Holy Spirit will begin to give your spirit the nutrients it needs. And he will give you the strategy so that you know how to dodge every agenda and every scheme of the devil. Because there's no way to cancel the enemy's schemes and agendas except through the strategies of the Spirit that come to your life through the mystery.
Wow.
Oh, now you're starting to understand.
Yes.
You realize that this has an exceptionally clear and well structured framework from which strategies are developed. And just as the enemy has you in his sights because your own behavior clearly demonstrates where you stand, absolutely no one is blind to the truth. The devil isn't blind, and neither are we. It's obvious where you stand. It's obvious who you are. You don't even have to open your mouth for people to know where you're at. And if someone as limited as us can tell how unfocused you are, how much more the devil who's working against you 24/7 because he's after you. He wants your soul. He wants to take you out because the devil hates you. The devil hates you. And when someone behaves in a foolish manner because they lose their spiritual focus on what Christ established, then you were held directly accountable for the reasons why you have him cornered, far from all authority, far from prophetic flow, and far from the divine mysteries and supernatural miracles of God.
That's right.
Did you see how interesting that is? That's why we can't let our guard down. Anyone who lets their guard down, anyone who goes their own way, understanding. Anyone who thinks they're the star of the show, anyone who wants it to be just me and God, you, the one who says, I'm here, it's just God and me, that's the devil, because that's a lie. That whole just you and God together thing is a lie. Christ didn't sell that idea. Christ was the one who established and said, don't walk alone. Christ said it's better for two to be together than one. And he said one can put 1,000 to flight, but two can put 10,000 to flight. But as a body, as a church, we can put Hades. He was the one who said, and your fight is against Hades. But you can't defeat Hades by being divided, by being in conflict. You can't defeat it without being under authority. This is something that is well established and well designed. And there are many demons that have people out of place because they don't know how to handle these principles, because they lose focus because they don't have a teacher. They don't have pastors. They don't have direction. Because they've created a different spirit, not the spirit of the house, not the prophetic spirit that the word teaches us. And for you to speak with authority, you have to speak like Leader Madeline did, who said, I can't trust myself. I'm a trusted prisoner.
That's right. And
It's good to repeat that. It's good to know it. Listen, when you start to believe your own hype, that's when the movie starts. That's when the enemy picks up on your signal. Whew. Listen, from the moment you start believing your own hype, That's when the enemy picks up on your signal, because I saw a different spirit than what Christ spoke about. Christ made it very clear that on this path, to win, you have to lose. Christ made it very clear that to overcome evil, you do it with good. Christ made it very clear that we have to be under authority in order to have authority. So anyone who operates outside of these codes is of the devil. Anyone who steps away from the foundation is of the devil. And there are many who let themselves be fooled by a pretty face, by a smile, by charm, or by sacrifice. No, you can't be disillusioned by the devil, because the devil dresses up as an angel of light. The devil is the coolest and slickest there is. He's the one who's the most charming and even the most generous, if possible.
Yes.
Ultimately, it is all about finding clever ways to distract you so that you do not take the time to truly connect with your inner self and ground yourself in the present moment. You have to be really sharp. The word says we have to be as gentle as doves, but as cunning as serpents. You have to be really sharp and know that you, the devil, and the world want to pull you away from any prophetic focus. That's why you shouldn't trust yourselves. Don't trust yourselves, because danger lies in being too trusting. Danger lies in being too trusting. I don't even trust myself. I trust in the prophetic, which nourishes me, guides me, and leads me every day. I trust in that word that comes to renew me, that shows me the path, that teaches me how to dismantle darts, that shows me the ins and outs and the tangled mess of situations that sometimes you just don't know how you're going to face. And the word always brings light. Light, just like the word says, which is a lamp to my path. It's a lamp that brings light, brings illumination, brings you clarity. Sometimes the day is dark, and the prophetic word from the house, it starts to light you up, starts to make things clear for you, and puts everything in its place. How powerful it is when we don't trust in ourselves, but instead trust in the one who said, in this world, you will have trouble. In this world, we're going to face many battles. The world brings a lot of crossroads. There are many stumbling blocks. In this world, we'll face many attacks, temptations, provocations, or all kinds of challenges. He was the one who taught us all of that. He specifically warned us to exercise extreme caution, because sometimes it is in that very confidence that we begin to lose our way. We start to believe our own story. We start to believe our own hype. Nah, folks, no. Like we've always say, we don't have to learn through consequences. We don't. We don't have to go looking for experiences just to have a testimony to share. No, we're not here just to give testimonies. Here, we talk about experience in the mission. We don't talk about testimonies. We don't need to go through any consequences in order to see God. You can see God's miracles and wonders if you act in obedience, if you know how to handle the fundamentals, if you know and are clear that people can trust you, that they picked you up from the trash. They picked you up from the gutter because you got yourself into a mess, and they bathed you, cleaned you up, and made you into someone. So you can't come here saying you trust and that you believe in yourself. You don't believe in yourself, my love. We rescued you from yourself, and you started believing in yourself again. And now the enemy is really happy with you because you're playing along with him, thinking that you can do it all on your own. And the enemy is rubbing his hands together because he wants to give you the final blow, the blow of grace. Don't let him give you that devastating final blow just because you're getting overconfident, granting him full access, giving away your rights, getting mixed up with the world, becoming deeply entangled in entertainment, and losing focus on the prophetic, on what truly gives life, on what really came to save you and to release the abundant spiritual wealth that God has set over you. We can't let our guard down. We can't let our guard down because the enemy is prowling around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour. We can't let our guard down because only Christ was able to do it. We can't let our guard down because he's the one who overcame. And if he overcame, we are more than conquerors.
And
I repeat again what Christ told us. And I say it in full. Keep in mind that in this world you will certainly face many troubles. But take heart, I have overcome the world.
We really appreciate you joining us for our podcast, Mission J. See you in the next episode.